So I think it was Lady of Linden referring to it earlier about women and the workplace, or just wanting a husband to go do it. Well, working woman cries and asks why we fought for women to get jobs in the first place. I'm so tired. Welcome to being a man, bitch. Get what you fucking asked for.
Yep. If you hadn't have halved doubled the labor force.
Yeah, if you hadn't literally doubled the labor force in 5 fucking seconds. So this bitch. It's no secret that many of us would dream of earning a full-time salary without having to complete a strenuous day of work for 8 hours, 5 days a week. You only work 8 hours, 5 days a week? Even if most of us were not required to work and did not make the money we do at our jobs, it would be nice to be able to kick our feet up and relax much more often than we can imagine in current times. One woman believes that this lifestyle was once right at her fingertips before it was stripped away by the women's rights activists in the 1900s. She reminds us that there was once a time when women were not allowed to work. There was never a time when women were not allowed to work outside the home. There was a time when they weren't expected and required to.
Yes.
In fact, and most women worked side jobs from the home. Seamstresses, washerwomen, assorted arts and crafts, all done by women working from their home.
Gardening, all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of women that worked a couple of hours at certain places. Like, who do they think the typists were?
Yeah, or the, switchboard operator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole women were not allowed to work outside the household thing kind of goes to shit when you point out nurses.
The fact that they weren't allowed to work from home should really put that to paid, shouldn't it? Because the traditional nurse training required you to live on site for at least your training and a large part of your your first year. They had to live in dorms. Men weren't allowed in the dorms. In fact, if you watch the documentary Carry On Nurse. Thank you, Adam.
Is that the really good one with Barbara Windsor?
Possibly.
And apparently Crow has transitioned to a woman since he now sells jewelry as a side hustle.
To be fair, I'm pretty... Jewelry of the kind Crows make was more of a man's thing. Because Crow is a whitesmith, and that was more traditionally a man's job.
I've never heard the term whitesmith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the counterpart to blacksmith. Blacksmith, you work with iron, get covered in dirt. Whitesmiths work with gold, don't get covered in dirt.
Ah, okay. Maureen says, poor women. Now try being a garbage collector. Go work in the sewer. Or do another one of those other jobs that are dominated by men. Yeah indeed. Go be a sewer diver in Mexico City.
Yeah. Marcus says he recalls reading that women used to be the ones making beer in the 18th century. Yeah, and someone mentioned that on one of the other things we looked at, where it's like, what, and maybe, but yeah, they would definitely, actually, it was women. I can tell you that traditionally women were the one making wine. Wasn't the fucking men jumping in the barrel with the grapes? So this woman who's realized that being a man ain't all it's fucking cracked out to be. Being equal to a man is not what is not working out for her. Women did not. So correcting her sentence, she reminds us there was once a time when women normally worked from their household, and admits she is more suited for this life than the current one she is living in. What's that? You want to only work 2 or 3 hours a day because you're not thinking of the 1600s, you're thinking of the 1900s, after the electric washing machine was invented.
Yep, and schools.
Yep. I have heard...
Well, mandatory schooling, I guess.
Yeah, I have heard, and I believe it, that the electric washing machine was the greatest time-saving invention for women ever. And I believe that. Even washing one pair of fucking socks by hand is a pain in the ass. Imagine having to wash a family's worth of clothing. Yeah. So like many of us who work full-time, Tay, this child, who does not like being equal to a man, is feeling burnt out and exhausted. She took to TikTok to express her frustrations and blames those who fought to allow women in the workforce. Whoever fought to get women jobs, why? The tearful 22-year-old asked in a TikTok video that's been viewed nearly 6 million times. Why did we do that? I'm so tired. I just want to put my feet up. So she reveals in the video's caption that she's clearly at her breaking point, mentally and physically exhausted from work. Aw, poor little Dims tried living like a man.
Yep.
Oh, dear. So the feelings were those that many working women could relate to. Someone had to say it, one TikTok user commented. They should have fought a little less hard, another user noted of the women's rights movement. Who thought anyone should have to work? We should all be sitting on the beach eating cheese and wine, another user hilariously shared. That one doesn't quite work out as well, because someone needs to keep the kids from killing themselves.
Yeah.
Other women noted that working full-time is especially difficult for them when they're expected to manage their households on top of their jobs. Because now we have to work and do the house chores, one user pointed out. You fought to do something other than clean the house, but tell me why I'm still doing it, another user wrote. Yep, that's right. And don't forget, if you are in a relationship, the person... and assuming you're working the same hours, the person working the harder the less difficult job should be the one taking on more of the housework. So the bricklayer, if he's lucky and only works an 8-hour shift, has worked far fucking harder than the woman in the call center. Actually, no, that's not true. Working in a call center is soul destroying. You're physically
I fucking hated working in a call center. Like, I used to raise, I was doing a charity fucking fundraising shit, call centers. Warm calls, so these people are given their data, and I was trying to raise money for Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital. And oh my God, so many people are just fucking vile cunts. Like, you're a piece of shit for ringing me. Like, how dare you? I don't give a fuck about these kids. I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I used to work in taking calls for the government's unemployment office.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You win. You definitely win.
Of course, it wasn't directly for the government. I was a subcontract. So the people who worked for the government doing the exact same job as me, extra $30,000 a year.
Yep.
Sons of bastards.
Yeah, I worked in a call center for a while that turned out to be a scam deal. And the moment I tweaked to the fact that it was a scam deal, I stopped putting in any effort and just collected my check for 2 or 3 weeks. And then they finally said, oh, your productivity's not high enough. I'm like, well, I don't fucking care. You people are fraudsters. And I walked out the door with my last paycheck.
That's fine.
And hilariously, but the best thing about this is across the street was the cafe that I used to frequent the most. So about 3 days later, I'm sitting there as I watch hordes of our CMP officers just raid this place.
Lucky. Good timing. But no, sorry, to correct what we're saying, no, not working in a call center, but a woman working a shift at Starbucks has not worked as hard as a bricklayer. Though again, Starbucks, you are on your feet. But there are a lot of bullshit jobs. So the receptionist at the medical center does not work anywhere near as hard as the bricklayer. So even if they were to do shifts the same length, one of them still worked harder.
Yeah, I think Orthodox Ranger mentioned a little while ago in chat about being an HVAC tech. Yeah, and watching women try and get into his industry and bail out because it's so hard. I mean, that's not an easy job. Excuse me, it's not an easy job by any stretch.
Baystape says he saw a 40-year-old man have a full-on breakdown in Tesco because the self-scan machine asked if he wanted to donate 25p to charity. Wonderful human being, I'm sure.
Well, I saw something floating about social media. Yeah, one of the fucking self-service machines is asking for a tip. It's like, fuck off. Tipping who?
Where's my fucking discount for doing the work of a human being? Fuck you.
Exactly. That's why everything's bananas.
I had no problem with people saying that they didn't want to give to charity. That's fine. But a lot of them would just sit there making excuses and excuse after excuse, rather than just getting to the point of saying, no, I don't want to donate. Sorry.
So my response to people collecting for charity, and no apologies at all for anyone who has done call center work collecting for charities. Go fuck yourself, get fucked, eat a dick, call me again and I'll find you and stab you.
Yeah, my first call from a call center number like that is, okay, kindly take me off your call list. My second response is, I told you to take me off your fucking call list. My third one is, give me your supervisor right fucking now.
Now, I've got no fucking time for any kind of outbound sales. No. You have harassed me in the middle of doing anything else to fucking try and get money off me. Go fuck yourself. Jump in the fucking bin. And like, yes, I do understand that a job's a job, but have you considered just stabbing your supervisor? Don't give a shit what you're collecting for. I don't do
a service for humanity. Let's go stab your fucking coworkers, please.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what they're collecting for either. I don't give a shit if they're collecting for blind, deaf children in Bumfuckistan. No, fuck off. Get bent. And I know how corrupt you fucking charities are as well. I know that none of the fucking money makes it to the kids. Sells free. Says, I'm called all the time by Cigna Health Insurance for self-employed. I hate them. Yeah, fucking hate telemarketers. Don't care. I know it's a job. Fuck off.
Yeah.
In much the same way as being a politician is a job. Go fuck yourself. Some jobs aren't worthy of any level of respect.
Yeah, anybody who takes a political job at this point is...
I always feel like one of those people from the Wolf of Wall Street when they're just scamming people.
All charities that do telemarketing are literally scamming people. What percentage of my donation will actually make it to the children? Oh, you can't tell me that. Funny how that goes. Look, Green Martian points out game journals are one of those professions.
Yeah, can you imagine one of us employed by Kotaku? And the fucking break room would be a bloodbath after the first shift.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Look at this bullshit.
They wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to cope with it, honestly.
Yeah, so this article from Your Tangu via Yahoo News then goes to wank off about, it's important to acknowledge that women were once forbidden from having the financial independence that we have now. Where was that? 1600
No, they
Syria.
weren't.
Name once. When in the West were women forbidden from having financial independence?
That one I haven't heard of. That's a new one to me. So
Yeah, they've always
Yeah,
had
and the next
financial
one-
independence. Actually, you want to talk about it? Women were forbidden from having financial independence. Sorry, who did the shopping? Who paid the bills? Who had time to do that shit? Who controlled the finances of the household for all of human history?
it certainly wasn't the men who were down the mines dealing with that shit all day.
Right. In fact, going back to the ancient fucking Greeks, in one of the stories, I can't remember which, is it the Odyssey? It might be the Odyssey, possibly. Don't quote me on it, but so I'm vaguely possibly misremembering quoting Lindy Bays here. He pointed out that I think it was the Odyssey, that when one of the major male characters wanted to give a gift of linen to another major male character, he had to go to his wife to ask her, and she had the keys.
Yeah, I think that was the Odyssey. It sounds like sounds right. I think. Oh wow! I just realized how long it's been since I've read any of that.
Someone scribble it down somewhere as a note. Odyssey Book Club one day. Maureen asks, weren't women in the time of Austin incapable of inheriting property and getting a job? I know that they had troubles inheriting a lot of stuff, but I don't believe that they weren't allowed to get a job. Though the job would probably be defined very different. It depends how you define a job. If you mean a career, I don't think there were careers for women back then.
Servant girls were a thing.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, like, there were a million kinds of assistants and housekeepers. Actually, Jane Austen's a good one. Where the fuck did the maids come from? Well, the maids...
Those women are often people who were in careers and not necessarily bound like slaves to the house. They would go where they were needed for work.
Oh, yeah, by the time Jane Austen's writing about, they were free women who had... And yeah, at the time, being a professional housekeeper could be a career. You would get references and travel from rich person house to rich person house independently. That's a career. Now, there were some laws at the time, I think, about inheriting property, as in actual property, but I'm not familiar with the actual details of those. But no, women have never lived in conditions as bad as leftists claim they have outside of the Middle East. Hell, women in the Middle East have never lived as bad as leftists think that Western women lived 100 years ago.
I must admit, there is something nice about the idea of just being able to earn enough for a whole family. You know what? I've earned enough to pay for all the food for 5 to 10 kids, and I can send them all to college because I'm earning enough. And my wife, she can stay at home and work on the house while I'm out doing stuff.
Oh, that's
Wonderful.
the dream. That's the dream. Let's see. Low Green Martian says only upper class women couldn't work. The lower classes had working women. Badger points out it took most of a woman's time to maintain a home and raise children. The farther back you go. Where was the pioneer woman supposed to get time to go to market to sell goods for a store, then go back home? Come asks, how about the Soviet Union? They might have actually had it that bad in the Soviet Union, but everyone did except the upper classes, so it's fine. And Outrun says, on top of ruining things for themselves, women getting jobs and doubling the workforce has lessened wages for everyone. So having a single income household nowadays is very hard to do. Absolutely. Which is something that a lot of people on the right, especially the successful ones, struggle to understand. Like, speaking of Lotus Eaters earlier, like, that's something that Carl seems to have forgotten. Like, yes, he's financially successful enough that his wife can stay home and be a stay-at-home mother. Not everyone's that lucky, Carl. And there are many others that have a similar opinions. Like, yes, I would love...
Even his own employees can't afford to go on the property ladder, let alone pay the entire cost of a woman in their lives.
That's it. And women are fucking expensive.
I do like that phrasing, Crow.
Yeah.
But yeah, if more people shared that dream of you know, the stay-at-home mother, especially women, then maybe we wouldn't be in this fucking mess.
And that's a question to ask. How do I phrase this? That's a question to ask a lot of these successful right-wing personality types to go, oh, you should have a stay-at-home wife as well. It's like, okay, do you pay your employees double the median wage? No, really. Funny how that works.
Unfortunately, we're not going to get back to that because we can't charge double in order to pay double for the men to stay at home, have a stay-at-home wife, because all of our competitors are going to offer it cheaper than us. So you're fucked. You can't go back to that society because people are going to be cheapskate.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you could slowly change it over time if women started dropping out of the workforce. that would naturally drive labor costs up. But that's something you're
But
looking
you
at.
can't
over
make them drop out of the workforce.
No, you
because
can't. You obviously can't. So it's never
because
going to get like that. But
if you can't make them, because the thing that would make them drop out of the workforce is saying, hey, I can pay for everything. You don't need to work. Ironically, you're in a fucking loop.
yeah, it really doesn't make much sense in the long run. So Tristan, I think, has missed my point entirely and wildly again, and says, run the numbers on how much a wife earns outside the home versus how much money is lost to childcare, plus second car, plus work-related expenses. The marginal advantage for a working wife is low, and you lose all the benefits of having a wife. Run that childcare again. Do you see the problem with the middle class not having kids? How do you think we got there? And yeah, Crow's right. We obviously can't force women out of the workforce, but the only way we could go back to having single income households being the norm is if there was a sudden massive societal shift where women voluntarily left the workforce. And that's not going to happen.
No, Callum has a good point, though. He points out what you're looking for is change over generations.
Yeah.
And I mean, it did take 2 generations from women's lib to now to get to where we are.
Yeah.
So,
And it'd be a lot harder going back the other way because women's lib essentially went in 2 generations, double the workforce. We're never going to be able to pull that out. Maybe over like the next 6 generations it could happen, but by that point, God knows what problems we'll be dealing with instead.
I think that also comes down to the kind of work that's available. If your country is now industrious, suddenly inventing things, lots of hard masculine tasks like building new things, typically where men field themselves the most and women not so much, there's going to be less jobs available for women, and they will then find themselves being pushed generally more out the workforce because there's less available to them. It generally means that men would be doing industrious things
maybe that is one of the tricks. Eliminate bullshit jobs.
Well, yeah, exactly. No more office jobs. We're going to make things. We're going to make new cars. We're going to make new fucking engineering projects. That doesn't mean women won't be allowed in them, but it will be more than likely they will opt out of them by choice.
Yeah. Base says we can't force women out of the workforce. Monkey, hold my beer. Low green Martian, just get rid of HR jobs. That would help reduce the workforce. Yep. And Major says like call center jobs best. Outbound call centers should be illegal. Well, outbound marketing call centers should be illegal. And yeah, there's a lot of bullshit busy work in call centers too, because companies have so much bullshit busy work procedures in them.
How much bureaucracy do you think will melt away from removing women from the workforce?
Oh, easily 3/4.
the HR departments could all close.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, what is this crap? So they're waffling women's rights advocates had to continually fight for equality. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? Given that just over a little over a century earlier, married women had just been granted the right to own property in their name. What countries are those? Try again.
Yep.
And to many, they were considered property themselves under the ownership of their husbands and fathers. No, never in human history has that been the case. Tristan says that Turkey gave looms to any woman who requested one. Women wove carpets in their spare time at home. Now Turkey is a carpet exporting country. Real good carpets, too.
Yep, it's true.
Maureen
Two of the best things that come out of Turkey.
Yeah,
Oh,
Maureen
go ahead.
says she honestly enjoys her job and can pay for everything myself, but if you would give me the choice, I would definitely choose to be a housewife and mother. Well, that's it. And like, just even without taking kids into the account of it, who wouldn't rather do housework than go to an actual fucking job?
Fair.
Because last time I checked, a commute of 3 feet to the door and being able to work all day in your pajamas is not something that's acceptable in most modern jobs.
Hey, Maureen, if you want, you can give me your job. I'd quite happily have a full-time job right now. No, it's really awkward, the job market in the UK now, because it feels like we're constantly competing for the lowest bar. They increased the minimum wage up to £10.48. About 3-4 years ago, it was about £8. So we've had a huge jump in the minimum wage. So all jobs are about minimum wage now, unless you're like in some sort of specific STEM sector, like you work in IT or something along those lines. It's very difficult to get yourself off any sort of start line with any basic job.
Oh, speaking of earnings, they've got to trot out the wage gap bullshit. Women still earn significantly less than men due to the wage gap. Fuck off. In the first quarter of 2023, full-time working women who hold salary positions had median usual weekly earnings of 84% of men's weekly earnings.
Where's Sean Head's wage gap button? Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to compare industries for me, please? Wage gap is bullshit and not real. Many women, even with the freedom to work outside the home today, still take on a load of household chores and caring for the children. This was their assumed. No, they do it because their jobs are easier. Where's Disco when you need her?
Yeah, well, she's busy being a mech.
Yes, but due to Disco's current circumstances, because she's the one with the higher paying job at the moment, but her family is going to run things where the man actually is going to take on most of the childcare duties during the day. But no, we'll just ignore the fact that the person with the higher paying or harder job should probably not be expected to do as much.
Just a Bobcat's comment. That's not quite what I meant, Bobcat. I just said I want her work. I didn't say I'd give her the money and help her out.
Well, I'm sure a deal could be arranged.
It depends how much a job pays, I suppose.
So,
Kristen says he has a house coat on for some reason.
well, what is this crap in this article? 54% of heterosexual marriage households where both parents work full-time report that it is the mother who mostly manages the household and the children's schedules. This could be a major factor contributing to... But shut up! One, it's 54% in your bullshit study. Two, does that study take into account brick workers and receptionists? What that study tells me is there are a bunch of men who are doing far more than they should because they're working harder fucking jobs. So fucking dumb. Outrun says, I know a guy who is a stay-at-home dad. He does the housework, sends the kid off to school, then does whatever the hell he wants the rest of the day. I would quit my job in an instant to do that. Yeah, I think most of us would have, at any time in our careers, gone, sorry, you want me to make sure the kid doesn't die, do the housework, and then whatever the fuck I want all day, I'm in.
Yeah. I've literally said that to previous partners that I'd be quite happy as a stay-at-home dad.
But well, especially for guys like us who have side gigs that involve the internet. Kid, you're
Well, not
still
only that,
alive?
but I could sit at home making all my jewelry with no. I could make loads of money just sat making jewelry.
And yeah, they're whining, don't romanticize the fact that just a few decades ago women were forbidden to... No, where on God's green fucking earth in the Western world were women forbidden to work? Where?
It's in their books. Have you not noticed? It's in all of their novellos, those stories that they like to tell themselves. Like that was that one
you
with
mean
the red.
You mean that historical research piece, The Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the name, but it's clearly factual.
Yeah. Women are an integral part of today's workforce, accounting for 50.04% of jobs in the US. That's not a good thing. But they're too fucking stupid to realize that.
Lyndon says, I have known many women who have had babies and then wish they could never go back to their jobs, no matter how much they loved them. Got a friend who can't be SAHM because her husband
Stay-at-home mother.
can't get a good job.
Stay
at home mother, there, because her husband can't get a good job. And that's tragic.
It is.
Growing up, my parents were always, one person was in a full-time job and the other one was always struggling to find one, and then it would flip. The other one would lose a job and the other one would be in a full-time one.
Yeah, it's
irritating lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for trying either.
SARS3 says his sister-in-law makes $500K a year and wants nothing more than to quit and stay at home with the two young kids. Oh, fuck. Yeah, why wouldn't you?
She should train her husband to do her job.
That's the trick. She should just work from home and he should do it. He can write pointless emails, I'm sure.
I wish we had our own aircraft. We could make our own national anthem.
Ah, Lord. If you enjoyed this segment from the Songs of Chardonnay podcast, please consider joining us live exclusively on rumble.com/c/Songs of Chardonnay. A special thanks to our Subscribe Star supporters who you can currently see scrolling past on your